When Dad left for his fishing trip that Friday, I thought the weekend would be quiet, peaceful, maybe even boring. I had no idea it would become one of the most complicated and revealing weekends of my life. My name is Madison Carter, and I'm 22. I live with my dad, Rick Carter, in a quiet little neighborhood just outside of Denver. After Mom passed away a few years ago, it was just the two of us. Dad, a retired firefighter, became protective, maybe even overbearing at times, but he always meant well. This particular weekend, Dad had planned a cabin getaway with his three old firefighter buddies, Jason Miller, Mark Bennett, and Eric Thompson. They'd served together, nearly lost their lives together, and now they spent their downtime together, fishing, grilling, and reliving the old days. But that Friday morning, just as I was getting ready for my morning yoga routine, Dad came into the living room with a guilty look on his face. "Hey, Mads," he said cautiously. "Change of plans." I raised an eyebrow. "You're not going?" "No, I am. But the guys are getting here earlier than expected, and I have to leave now to grab the boat trailer. I need you to let them in when they arrive." "Wait, they're staying here?" "For just a few hours. They'll leave tonight. You'll hardly know they're here." I frowned, unsure. I liked his friends. They were charming, funny, and always respectful. But something about being home alone with them felt different. He gave me that classic dad look. "Just do me this favor, kiddo. Please?" I nodded. "Fine." An hour later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there they were, three tall, confident men in their 40s, dressed casually, but still giving off that commanding ex-firefighter energy. "Madison." Jason grinned. "Long time no see." Mark and Eric nodded politely. "You've grown up," Mark said with a smile. "Don't make me feel old," I teased as I let them in. They each brought in coolers, duffel bags, and fishing rods. The living room quickly became a mini lodge. "Dad had to run an errand," I explained. "He said you guys would be leaving tonight?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, we'll be out by sunset. Just waiting on the boat trailer. Mind if we hang out here until then?" "Of course not." As the day went on, things got interesting. Jason, always the jokester, kept teasing me about my herbal teas and healthy lifestyle. "You've turned into a real yoga princess, huh?" He chuckled as he sipped one of my matcha smoothies. "Better than your gas station coffee." I shot back with a grin. Eric, the quiet one, offered to help me cook lunch. "I've been learning how to make vegetarian lasagna," he said shyly. "Mind if I try?" We cooked together in the kitchen, laughing over misread recipes and a comical cheese explosion. Mark, the most serious of the three, seemed more distant. But every so often, I'd catch him watching me with an unreadable expression. He finally spoke up after lunch. "You're different now, Madison." I tilted my head. "Different how?" "You're not the teenager we used to tease when you snuck candy from the pantry. You're confident. Grown." There was something in the way he said it that made my stomach flutter, though I wasn't sure why. It was just an observation, right? Later in the afternoon, we all gathered in the backyard. Jason and Mark were drinking beers and telling stories from the old station days, while Eric and I set up a fire pit. As the sun began to dip, a windstorm warning suddenly popped up on the news. Jason cursed. "That storm's coming fast. No way we're getting out on the lake tonight." "Guess we're stuck here," Mark muttered. I called Dad to check in. "Yeah, I heard," he said over the crackling line. "Mads, just let them crash in the guest rooms tonight. They're family. I'll be back tomorrow morning." I hesitated. "They won't be any trouble. Trust me." So I agreed. But what followed over the next 12 hours changed everything. That night, the house took on a surreal stillness. The storm outside raged, but inside it was warm, dimly lit by candles after the power flickered out. I sat in the living room in my oversized sweater and leggings, sipping tea. Jason came in and plopped onto the couch beside me. "Still awake, huh? Storm's loud." He nodded, staring at the dancing candlelight. "You've got a calming vibe, you know that?" I chuckled nervously. "I get that a lot." He glanced sideways at me. "Don't take this the wrong way, but you've really grown into yourself. You're stunning, Madison." I froze for a second. "Jason, He raised his hands. I'm just saying. Nothing weird. You're beautiful. And any guy would be lucky to be around you. Before I could respond, Eric entered, holding a blanket. Thought you might be cold. Jason grinned. Knight in shining armor. Eric ignored him and draped the blanket over me gently. You okay? I nodded.
Yeah.
Just surreal having you all here without Dad. We're not trying to make things weird, Eric said, sitting on the floor by my feet. But you should know we all care about you. In different ways. Jason raised an eyebrow. In different ways? Speak for yourself, Romeo. Just then, Mark appeared in the doorway. He didn't smile. He simply looked at us all, then said to me, Can I talk to you?
Alone.
I followed him to the kitchen. You okay? I asked. He leaned against the counter. Look, I didn't plan on saying anything this weekend. But seeing you again, like this, has been confusing. Confusing? You're beautiful, smart, and strong. And here I am, a 45-year-old divorced man, staying in your house because of your dad. And all I can think about is how wrong it feels to be noticing you like this. I was speechless. He continued, I'm not going to cross a line. I just needed to be honest. Something about his honesty felt more intimate than a touch. I placed my hand lightly on his arm. Thank you for telling me. We stood in silence for a moment before we both laughed nervously and parted ways. The next morning, the storm had passed. Dad returned, bringing a wave of normalcy with him. His friends packed their bags and said goodbye like nothing unusual had happened. But everything had changed. In the weeks that followed, I found myself thinking more and more about that night, about Jason's bold compliments, Eric's gentle care, and Mark's conflicted honesty. Each of them had shown a side of themselves I hadn't seen before. And though I never acted on any of those feelings, I learned something important that weekend. People surprise you, especially the ones you think you know. Sometimes, when the storm rolls in and you're left with nothing but candlelight and confessions, the truth finds its way out. Even when Dad isn't home.